Again for Kitty's DreamsPS4 stream. I'm a bit tired today, so you'll have to bear with me. But we're going to go back to the planet of the cakes, and we're going to try our best to build that cream horn that I mentioned. It's been 3 episodes in the making, well, in the anticipation of its making, that is. I made this drum kit as well the other day with my brother, which you might enjoy. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's get back to the planet of the cakes. I'm just going to plug in my phone so I can see the chat. I hope you can all hear me. I will try to speak up. Right. What have we got? Oh. Let's just close all of this because you don't need it open. There we go. Let's tidy things up a bit. What's this over here? Oh, that's the music. Alright, well, let's put the music on. You turn the TV down a little bit so you don't get any pollution. Now, cream horn time. I'm going to get my iPad out so I can get some reference. Because as I've always said, it's very good to use reference if you're trying to make things. My doggies are watching me intently. I wonder what they'd say if they could speak. Right, let's have a look for a cream horn. Cream horn. There we go. That's what we want. We might have to make a raspberry. We can do a plain one, a chocolate one, and a raspberry one, and that means we get to make a raspberry as well. So this one looks the most like I would imagine. It's got a bit of icing sugar on it. We may have to create a way of doing icing sugar. Hello Dream Tinder, hello Ikatsu. The pips, you mean the pips of a raspberry? I don't know if you saw last time, but we made a scone. There's a little bit of glaze there, look. Put a plain one and a jammy creamy one. Now we're going to do a not a French horn. A French horn is a brass instrument. I'm sure the musical ones amongst you know what I'm talking about. Let's create a new platform. We'll make a big one. And we need to put one underneath this cake as well. This cake's been feeling neglected because it's our plain chocolate sponge. We were just using it to build the Black Forest Gâteau, but I think it deserves access. And then let's put a bigger one down here as well. And we'll just put a little step there so that you can get between them. There we go. Right then, let's have a look. Now the cream horn's going to be complicated to make because I'm sure the raspberry will not be as complicated as the strawberry was to make, I can assure you. Now let's have a look at this cream horn. Right, so it's kind of a spiral. Let's try some things out. So we've got sculpt mode. We'll start there. Now we saved some colours last week. Now I think we'll begin with this colour maybe, and we will create. We could try doing that thing where you do smear. You spin the object and then smear it like that. We could try something like that. Or we could, but we'll need the right shape. I'm not sure which shape to use for that. Perhaps we should use that, because then we could have to get the scale right as well. That's about right. And then what we'll do, if we spin that, oh wait a minute, now I want to change my grip on it. So I go into here, go into the grip section, and then I can just R2 on the place where I want to grip it, and now it will spin around the middle. I bet you didn't know that, did you, kittens? Oops, let me get a bit further away. I think I might make this a bit shorter. Now let's try and get it to spin the right axis. Now when I'm moving around shapes, I tend to try to use the touchpad. I don't know why, but I like using the touchpad to rotate things, because that way I can move and rotate them at the same time. Now I need to figure out which angle I need to spin it in. That's not right. That's not quite right either. But if I rotate with the, that's it. Now if I try that, oh, it's not going to give me a very good one. It's not a very good one, is it? Not a very good spiral. Let's try again. It's not going to be very dependable. I've got a feeling we may need to handcraft this horn. A cheese twist. Can you hear me better now? Do I need to shout? Would you like me to put... I could use the PlayStation camera as an input. I do need to get a better headset. I think it also depends how you're listening. I think if you wear headphones you can hear me okay. Alright, I'll just try and talk a bit louder. It's because the microphone dangles. Because I don't have a proper headset, the microphone just hangs. So it's not right next to my mouth. Anyway. We'll try that and see if that works for you. I'm still going to use the curve tool, but I'm going to do it a different way. We're going to use the stamp shape, and we're going to just do it by hand. So we're going to start there. And we're just going to make a spiral. But we're going to build it up out of pieces slowly. So there's the first bit. It's not easy. If you've got any questions as well, just ask and I will do my best to answer you. So there's one bit. The thing is, my phone keeps switching to sleep. Okay, well listen, I'm going to do my best to just keep the mic close to my mouth. But when I'm focused on things, it gets a bit difficult. Maybe if I wind it round my ear so it hangs a little bit higher. Is that better? So I don't actually need the earphone. Is that better? Right, I'm going to put my phone so it just doesn't keep going off. I'm not sure where I do that. Anybody got any top tips? Display. Auto lock. Here we go. Put it on 5 minutes. There we go. Right. How did John do the spindles on the pool table? Well, there is actually a method where people have been creating lathes. We could try that. Should we try that just for the lols? Because I was thinking we would just do this. But then I was going to add a I mean, this is just the starting point. To get the basic spiral, and then I was going to obviously mess around with it once I had that shape. Oops. Let me just switch off precision mode. Yeah, I'll try the lathe a little bit later if this doesn't work. But this is looking promising. It's got a certain level of organicness to it. And it seems to be giving me the sort of spiraliness that I need. It does seem to be working. Has anyone ever eaten a cream horn? I'm not sure if they have them in America or wherever it is you're from. Are they a very English thing? We do love our cream cakes here. Now what am I doing? I need to to make sure this sort of goes in a straight line. It's starting to go wonky. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cutout tool afterwards, but with soft blend switched on, to create a more cone, because it's not as rounded as that, the spiral. Do one more of these, maybe two. See there, we're losing a bit of our definition. It's going awfully, it's going a bit wrong. Oh, it's not easy, you know. Any more tips? Any more questions? Actually, one thing I wanted to point out to you people, kittens, is that if you're making things and you want them to be shown on the live stream, they can't show anything that infringes copyright. So if you want your stuff to get featured on the stream, it needs to be original, and even something as simple as like a little sound effect from another game will mean that they just can't show it. So bear that in mind if you want your stuff to get featured on the Media Molecule stream. Has to be original. Oh, this is fiddly. I'm hoping that when we do the cutout tool, it will just make it all better. Because that join there isn't very tidy. It needs to look good from all angles. Maybe I need to redo my little spirally bit. So also it needs to not be curving, because that's going to make the cone isn't going to work if it's not kind of conical. Although to be honest, it doesn't have to be exact, as long as it's sort of roughly the right shape. Hopefully the cone will just tidy us up. Oh. Let's have a look. Right, let's try out the cone idea just to see if it works, even though this isn't perfect. Can you hear me alright, everybody? Hello, Dirty Harold. Hello, TM Temesis 1. Could I use this cone and surface snap the swirls on that, like I did the vines? Oh yes. That could be a thing. That could be a thing. Let me try the cone thing first. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a cone. And we're going to use the crop tool. Not the cutout tool. We're going to put a little bit of soft blend on it. We're going to stretch the cone because it needs to be the right. Come on. Come on, sausage. Okay, there's too much soft blend on it at the moment. So let me turn that down. It sort of works. If I just bring that in a bit. And then I'm not entirely convinced. It looks like we're going to have to find another way. I mean, it sort of works. Sort of. It's kind of what I had in mind. Maybe if I loosen it. And also make the... and do it again. Because it sort of does give me the effect that I want, but it's not quite right. Only needs the tiniest bit of soft blend. Just to get rid of that angular. I think that actually works okay for me. I'm not sure how you feel about it. What do you think? Hi, Alto. Right, we've got a good little gang now. Let's just go with that for now. Let's see if we can get some more looseness on there. Perhaps if we, oops, I didn't want to do that. That kind of works, but that's now two objects, which I don't want. So let's get the looseness brush with a sphere and let's just hang it over here and we'll just fiddle with that. I want it sort of flaky looking. And then we're gonna just wipe that across there for a flaky crumb. Let's pick a decent fleck for it, because I don't think that one's working. What about that one? What about this one? Oh, we need some ruffle. So let's go to the style tool and choose ruffle. That will make the flecks not all run the same way, so it'll seem a bit more organic, which is good. Another thing I might do is just rotate the cream horn so that the messy side is down, because actually usually the side that's down is usually a bit squashed anyway, so that will be realism. I think that works alright for me, don't you, kittens? Is it possible to get a sphere to spin and move it down as you change the size? That's kind of what I was trying to do with the curve tool. I like that it's not perfect. It shouldn't be perfect anyway. I'm just going to cut the end off, or sort of like make it just need to sort of nibble the end off a little bit so it's a bit flatter. And then we'll do a cone in order to hollow out the middle so we can put the cream in. Because when you make these in real life, you do it on a metal cone. You wrap the pastry around a metal cone and you stand it up in the oven. I don't know if you've seen it on Great British Bake Off, but that's how they do it. So, oh, where's it gone? Oh, there it is. So we'll just plunge that into the cone. I think that's reasonable. I might actually tighten that one up a little bit, because it's metal, it will be a bit more precise. And then we'll stamp that in place, drop that, and just move that to adjust it slightly. There we go. We haven't got any unsightly holes, have we? No, that's good. See, that looks good to me as a cream horn. It's a bit small. We're going to make it a bit bigger, so it's to scale with our donut. I think that's about right. It's a bit like a unicorn horn. It's the unicorn of the cake world. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like it. I know. I've got the cream horn. Now we need to paint it, don't we? Before we fill it. And it will have a glaze, a bit like the scone. So what I'm going to do, we've got a pretty nice colour on it already. I'm just going to spray paint it a bit. I don't know why I did that. I'm glad that worked out. I was a bit worried about the cream horn. It was going to be a challenge. I knew that. I knew that much. Surface snap, for those of you that don't know, is very useful when you're spray painting. I'm also going to turn down the opacity to give me a bit more ability to sort of softly airbrush, and I'm going to turn up the soft blend. So now I can just very delicately add a bit of toastiness to my cream horn. And it'll just brown it off slightly. You always do it to the bits that are most exposed, so all the thin bits that would have caught the heat of the oven more. So you always want a bit more around the edge here. Oh, we need to do the finish as well, actually. Let's just quickly do that. Should we do a rough wax? Can everyone hear me okay? Have I done shoe buns or profiteroles? Oh my goodness. I haven't done a profiterole. That's a shocking display. No, I haven't done a profiterole. Also, if you're spray painting, it's often a good idea to put studio lighting on, because then you'll see the colours exactly as they are. Can you see that? Just a bit of browning. Delicious. And actually the end bit, because it's thinner, it will catch more heat. So we'll just make that a little browner. We may even just darken that slightly. Oh, careful. Don't get too excited, because that looks slightly burnt and Mary Berry wouldn't be impressed. Let's see how that looks. There. Ooh, delicious. What I might also do is, in the very thin bits, we're still on spray paint mode. We'll get this pale underbaked colour. We'll make our brush very small and we'll just put a little bit of that. Oops, we don't want it to be too... We don't want to go too crazy with it, but we just want to put a little bit in there. So the pastry is slightly paler. Just for a sort of just where the pastry's the thickest and where the heat won't have got to, just to give it a little bit of depth. Put a little bit of that on the inside as well. I should have really done that with the cone that I cut out with, but that would have been better. Oh, it's on surface snap, isn't it? I don't want surface snap anymore. There we go. So you can see there the gizmo is just touching the edges. I hope that's not affecting the outside. What you've got to remember is these are volumetric brushes, so if you're not careful it can go through and affect the outside as well, which is not what we want. Okay, and what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to just put on this so that I can go underneath, and where it's touched the baking tray I can brown it slightly, because it would have got a bit brown. On my controller side. Oh dear, it's got plenty of power. Sorry about that, kittens. My controller died there for a moment. It is Tony Hart and Mary Berry's love child. Right, let's put surface snap back on and just brown the bottom. Because we don't want a soggy bottom, do we, kittens? Yeah. Ooh, delicious. Just a little bit of browning. Now, the simple way to fill this would just be to grab a bit of cream off of the cake, which we can do quite easily. There is... We just need to glaze it slightly, that's all. Oh, look at that. Creamhorn is the actual name. If you type that into Google and have a look, you will see that there is such a thing. Now we're going to do a glaze like we did on the scone, to give it a shiny glaze, and then I'm going to do a chocolate version which will be dipped in chocolate. Can everybody hear me okay? No, I wouldn't recommend it either, kitten. Not in public anyway. Right, let's have a look. Paint mode. Let's just use the circle. We're going to put surface snap on so it snaps to the surface. We're going to choose a sort of a golden colour because it will catch in the oven. And we're going to choose a waxy, shiny wax. There we go. Now, I'm also going to use brush flex because it will give us control over the opacity. And I'm just going to paint some shininess on there, as if we've just brushed it with egg before we popped it in the oven. I'm not going to put it on the inside of the bits, just on the outside, because it would have puffed up and those cracks would have been exposed. And I will just it looks a bit heavy-handed at the moment, but don't panic, because we're gonna make it semi-transparent. We can always change the style if we want to. In fact, I might just do that. I think I might change the fleck to this one. It's a bit less and I feel like it's not giving me as much waxiness as I would like, so I'm going to just see there, you don't want the shadows to be too dark because it shades oddly. Now the shadows it's very translucent, so you won't get too much dark shadowing. In fact, to be fair, the pastry ought to be a bit less waxy because I think we'll just do regular wax, just a little bit, just to take the shadow down a smidge. Don't seem to be doing very much. Maybe we don't want wax at all. We had it on rough wax. Let's put a little bit of just regular rough. That will take, there we go. Now it looks a little bit less translucent, which is what you want really. It's like with the scone, we made it a little bit too translucent. It looked a bit strange. That looks quite tasty now, doesn't it? Yum yums. So now we're just going to go into the tweak menu for the glaze, and we're going to turn down the opacity a little bit, just to soften it a bit. See there? I want it to be a bit more subtle, so it just catches the light. There you go. Is that better? Still could be a little bit more, I think. The reason why I want to make a cream horn is because I want to build buildings and things out of these cakes. So I want a variety of shapes. Yeah, if you're just doing a sort of light smattering of something, you can always turn... Flecks can be transparent, which, you know, sculpts can't. So that's one benefit of them. The thing you lose is the ability to cast shadows with flecks. You can't... With a painting, there's never cast shadows, so you have to bear that in mind. Now, there was also a little bit of a dusting of icing sugar on the one in my reference picture, and I quite liked that. So I might just put a bit of that on there, but I'm not going to do it the way I did it before, because that was more caster sugar on the other cakes. I'm going to use a white painting, and I'm going to try that. And I'm going to do it with the paintbrush. Because you can regulate the opacity by just pressing it more gently. So where on the edges where you don't want it to be too thick, you can just blend it out. So you can do it thicker on the top where it would have caught the most, and then just gently a bit less. And then what I'll do is I'll ruffle it afterwards. Some of it would have gone into the cracks because the sugar was put on after it was baked. There. That's nice, isn't it? Would you eat that? So this is all using the DualShock as well, by the way. No moves here, kittens, I'm afraid. So let's just tweak that. Turn up the ruffle to make sure it's all right and ruffly. It's got a bit 3D there. I don't like that. Maybe I should turn it down a bit. Also, I need to... Do I want to make it impasto-y? I suppose a little bit of impasto to make it sort of not too flat, because it wouldn't be flat. On here it's kind of bumpy. And I'm also going to make... Again, I'm going to make it waxy so it doesn't have these dark shadows. Can you see those shadows? I don't like those, so I'm going to turn them down a bit by making it waxy. Waxy rough. There you go. So that's fluffy. Light and fluffy. And now we're going to group all four things. And there's our cream horn, lightly dusted with icing sugar, with a glaze and a creamy filling. I do love a creamy filling. So now actually we need to make that a bit bigger to fill that hole better. Ooh, misses. And I'm going to make a chocolatey one now. Oh, look at that. See, we can make a lovely castle. That was funny. Now let's make a chocolatey one. I'm going to turn on precision move so that I can see where I'm doing it. There we go. And I'm going to copy this. I feel like it could be slightly bigger actually. There we go. I'm going to move that over here. Everyone seen Game of Thrones this week? Everyone enjoy it? No spoilers if anyone hasn't seen it yet. Right, this version, I'm going to take away the dust of icing sugar. I'm going to leave the glaze. I'm going to remove that cream, or at least just move it out of the way. And I'm going to coat. So I'm going to create a new sculpt inside the group with a chocolatey. Let me just grab that brown and let's get a sphere. It doesn't take the finish, does it? Which is a shame. That would be nice. And we're going to get a finish, a wax. I don't want it too waxy or shiny. Plastic's quite good for chocolate, but we want it slightly shinier than that. What about, no. We'll do shiny like that because it does look quite chocolatey. And then we'll squish that a bit. Then we'll make sure we're in stamp mode, because that way we can turn on soft blend a little bit. We can squidge that down. I want that to be flat. And we can also put on, we've got on surface step. If we put stay upright, oh no, that's not right, is it? Okay, we won't put stay upright on. And now we're going to just cover this in chocolate. Chocolate. And soft blend will just nicely squidge it all together. It's quite thick chocolate, but we like thick chocolate, don't we? Nobody likes a thin, measly coating of chocolate. Yeah. This is how I iced the Black Forest Gâteau. And it's a bit painstaking, but you do get a good effect. It could be a bit smoother, to be honest. All the powerful people going cray cray. Yes, that's right. Everyone getting a bit cray cray. I don't know if that looks good enough. Do you think it looks good enough, kittens? What we can do afterwards is we can go in with the soft blend and just hopefully we can smooth it out a bit. One of my dogs is snoring. Bless them. I should really make a game with all my doggies in it. I have thought about it. I'm not very good at characters, so I'll have to practice. Has anyone here made any good games? Oh, I've got an itchy nose. Oops. I'll need to turn off precision move. Anyone seen any good games recently on the DreamsPS4? Any recommendations? I am going to make a game out of this, I hope. I want to make a world created out of cakes. I don't know if I like how that looks. It's bothering me. Let me see if my idea will work with the soft blend. Possibly, yes. See what I mean? It will just soften it out a little bit if I just turn it up. Oops. And move it away. See how it shrinks? I don't know. Oh dear. Maybe I should just soften it a bit. That's probably a better idea, but then I need a decent fleck. It doesn't look quite as smooth, does it? If I turn the impasto down, that smooths it out a bit. And then maybe if I change the fleck to this one and I put some ruffle on it, it looks a bit too textured. I don't like it, it's too lumpy. What am I going to do? What shall I do, kittens? Help me. Barney's power-up would be flatulence, yes it would. He wasn't so farty the other day when I took him into the office. Traveller. I'm going to have to look that up now. I know that Sloan Mackenzie did a new level. I'm not convinced by this. It's bothering me. Shall I just persist with it? Did everyone like the pirate ship? I don't know if anyone fixed it afterwards. It wasn't very, it was a bit broken when we left it. Poor old Kevin was under a lot of pressure. Maybe we should try and fix it today on the stream. It looks like someone's taken a load of chocolate buttons and melted them onto this cream horn, which is not entirely what I was going for. Another thing I could try is let me try one more thing just before I carry on with this. I'm going to try something. I'm going to clone that. I'm going to do that. Oops. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to paint it brown. Paint it brown. Bear with me, kittens. I'm just trying something. Then I'm going to change this to this. I'm going to change this to this. I'm going to I'm going to have to use the thingy tool to make it tighter because it was already at its bottom threshold for tightness. Now I'm going to move that onto there. Make it a bit bigger. I'm going to take the cone. Oh. Dope. I'm going to take the cone. What's everybody saying? I can't. Let's have a look. Sorry, Katsu, I wasn't looking at the thing. We spent 10 hours on the pirate ship remix, but it's hard. Of course, I'd like to see. We might even be able to show it in the stream next week if we're allowed. Right, let's have a look. We want to punch a hole in the chocolate. Without revealing the pastry. And then we're also going to that's alright, that'll do. And then, can everyone hear me? Sorry. We're going to just add some blobs to make it drippier, because it's almost too perfect now. Give it a blobby edge so it looks like proper chocolate. Chocky licky. Is everyone following me? Bits of nuts, that's a good idea. Like I did on the outside of the cake, of the chocolate gâteau. That is a good idea. I'm going to do some droppy shapes afterwards using a less flat sphere, because it looks. You see, these cream horns are usually dipped in the chocolate, so you wouldn't get that sort of spread look. You would get a more smooth, perfect look like this. Nope. Let's turn that off again. I should really use Surface Snap, but I don't feel like I need it right now. Let's just clone that, it's quicker. La la la. Really nice big blob here. Just to sort of hide that perfectness. We want the chocolate to feel like it's sort of filled in that gap nicely. Did everyone see the stream with Barney on it? He was actually very good. Although he just got bored and hot. He gets very hot because he's got a fluffy coat. I'm going to delete some of these. I feel like they're too even. And then I'm going to reset that. Oh, where's it gone? splodge, and then you can also use an inverted sphere to just make the gaps a bit rounder, just for sort of for the lols. There you go. That'll do. Should we try and do some nuts? It was the stream when Barney was on it, when it was on Tuesday, on the Media Molecule stream. So we're just gonna get rid of that one. We don't need it anymore. We're gonna put that back. There we go. I'm gonna pop that over there. Full of sticky goodness. And we are going to, yeah, we've still got the shininess. We're going to put some nuts on here. Now I did the nuts, I don't know if you saw this, but there's nuts on here, look. Now I did them as a painting because it was quicker and cheaper than doing individual nuggets. It doesn't need to cast shadows. Does everyone approve? Oh, well, you can look at it on the Media Molecule channel. I don't know if my streams are appearing on the Dreams channel yet, actually. I should check, really. So here's how we do nuts. We get painting. We get a square. We could actually use this. Make it smaller. Go into here. No, not into there. Into here. Do stamp fleck. Now don't worry about them all being the same orientation, because we're going to fix that. Could even do some on the cream. Now we're going to do some square ones. But obviously nut chunks are not always the same size. So we're going to shrink it a little bit, like that, and then we're going to do another load. For variety of size. Like that. That's it. And then, like I did on the cake, we're going to do some hexagonal ones as well, just so that the shapes aren't always quite the same. We probably could have mixed up the we could have made a tumbler, actually. I probably should have done that. That's annoying. Anyway, let's just see how it looks. So we go in here, turn up the impasto and the ruffle, and then you get a sort of nice 3D nuts. And also, if you give them a very, let's have a look. We want to be rough and we don't want them to be too translucent. It's not the best effect I've ever done, but it's not terrible either. It works from a distance. What I could do is I could hide the cake and then I could go to the coat mode tint tool and I could get a darker brown and I could put on the volume brush and if you look closely you'll see that you can tint individual flecks just to make it, well, there you go. So if I just wave that around over them, you've got to make sure it's intersecting them though or it won't have any effect. And then you get a little bit of variation in the colour if you forgot to do a tumbler. There's a spare one over here. And then we go back to the hide tool and just unhide everything. That looks alright, I suppose. Let's just compare it to this one. I must have put different colours, which works much better. We could just do that now. I don't know too many crumbs though. Just do it. Oh, my imp is slipping. Check the chat. It looks like a Louis Vuitton cream horn. Why is that? That is annoying, isn't it? Let's go to the dashboard. Why doesn't it let me do that? Settings. Manage stream. See, I put it on Dreams when I started the blooming thing. Is it in there now? Oh dear. Well, I just went into the tags bit. Because it just lets you search. I'll try what you said. No, it didn't work. It should be tagged. It says category Dreams. Yes, the colours, yes, you're right. It's a bit too dark now. That's better. It gives you a toasty effect, which I think works better for me. We are in stamp mode, aren't we? No, yes we are. Okay, that's good. Has anyone else been playing anything else? What other games are we playing at the moment? Anyone play Days Gone? I've been trying to play Undertale on my Switch actually. Which is fun, it's just I don't have a lot of time to play it. Can anyone tell me if my category is correct now? Maybe it doesn't work on the cream. What do you think? Maybe I should just get rid of it on the cream. That might help. It is what? Jason? What are you telling me? My category is correct now? What shall I make next, kittens? I was thinking I might do a iced gems because they're quite good for detailing. I haven't had a look at my thermometer either actually, but I'm hoping that because I tend to build things quite efficiently that it shouldn't be too bad. A chocolate croissant. Croissant isn't really a cake though, is it? It's a pastry. And it's French, which isn't a problem because obviously I've built a German cake, but I think we need to think about building other things from these. I think that's better, isn't it? Don't you think? Custard tarts. Yes, we could do a tart. Actually, I do like a tart. You know what? You've persuaded me. Now I need to think about tarts. How am I going to do that? Oh, we forgot to do the raspberry, didn't we? Let's do that quickly. It shouldn't be too difficult. Let's go to sculpt mode. We'll do a nice pinky red. Because raspberries are just kind of on the border of red and pink. So let's just pick that colour, but then move it sort of slightly to the pink. There we go. Needs to be quite bright. We don't want it to be too pink. And then we'll give it a translucent waxy finish. What do you think? Spotted dick. I haven't got a cheesecake yet, but if I can do a tart case, then cheesecake shouldn't be too difficult. So let's just quickly do this. Uh, Actually, the best way to do this would be to create a form to go in the middle of the raspberry. Barney's watching me. Kind of like that. And then we'll surface snap the little balls to it. Okay. Now you know you can reset the shape. Clicking on the icon again for the shape. So now the balls will be about that big, and then we can do them in a sort of a more organised fashion, which is more like what a raspberry would be like. There we go. We can always edit them later. And then afterwards we can delete the green bit. And if we just fill these holes. Because raspberries aren't that regular, are they? Do you like the translucency? Look at that lovely way that it's catching the light. Ooh. It's delicious. As we're getting closer to the bottom of the raspberry, I'm going to just make the pip things a little bit smaller, so it looks more natural. I should have got a bit of reference, to be honest, but I have seen raspberries fairly recently, so I think we'll be alright. Make sure you vary the size of them a little bit. There. And normally they just oops. They're like that, aren't they? do love cake. How did I make the paper? Oh, Dream Tinder. You know what? I'd rather you called me Kitty, since it is Kitty's stream. But I'm not going to get offended if you call me anything else. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I am who I am, and I just, you know, I don't want drama. You know, as long as you're respectful, I don't care what you call me, really. Generally, if I'm Kitty, I like to be she, and if I'm not, I kind of like to be he. But, you know. Right, now, do we feel like this is shiny enough? I feel like it could be a little bit shinier. So let's do a little hint of shiny wax. Oh, we don't want it in volume mode. So we've got a hint of a shine, but we're going to stylize it, because I know that they can be a bit furry. So we're going to use a furry looking fleck, and we're going to see if we can make it look sort of fluffy and shiny at the same time. So it's got a sort of hint of fluffiness about it. I don't know if I like that. It looks a bit odd. It doesn't look like I'd want to eat that. Do you? Do you think you'd want to eat that? I don't know. Maybe we should turn the impasto down a bit. Something's bugging me about it. What is it? Can anyone tell me? Is it the wrong colour? No, but they have a sort of furriness to them, don't they? I'm sure they do. I'm going to turn down the shininess a little bit. Do you think I should make it darker? Maybe I should spray paint it a little bit with a sort of slightly darker colour. I hope you're not getting bored. I do like to take my time sort of doing this sort of thing. That helps. See there? Just enhancing the depth. Oh blimey, what's happened there? That doesn't look very good, does it? What? That's better. Now let's turn on studio lighting, and I'll be able to see where I've painted and where I haven't. Oops. Well, I've been a bit heavy-handed with some of those bits, so I'm going to do the rest of it a bit more lightly, and then I'm going to go back. Mouldy raspberry on one side, yes. Usually they go a bit white and furry when they're mouldy. You don't have to be too precise. It's just to give a bit of variation, really. Because if it's too even, it looks too plasticky, and you want to give it a bit of naturalness. So I'm going to just tone down that shading there. So I just pick the colour I want, and I just make the brush bigger and just do a very light smattering. And then if we turn off studio lighting again, oops. It's funny, isn't it? How different it makes it. Doesn't want to be shiny, does it? I mean, it looks nice, but it's not right. Let's put wax back on it a little bit, but we'll keep a little bit of that shine. There, that will do. I'm not going to fanny about with it any longer. Yummy. Now, what did we say we were going to do next? A more saturated lighter red for the shadowing. Well, I know you're probably right. It doesn't look perfect, but it'll do. Maybe a slightly less. I've spent enough time on that raspberry now, I think. I've had enough. Yes, tarts. Right, so we could be lazy and make... Do we want a small tart or a big tart? Or sort of a medium tart? A tartlet or a tart? Let's just make a... The reason why I ask is because a tart is... I'm going to put this into grid mode. Then I'm going to create a sculpt. I'm going to turn off surface snap. I'm going to choose the colour of the pastry, which I have been doing previously. Now, for a tart, we want it to be quite big. I want to make the grid a bit bigger. The tart about that big, so it's not too big. I also want to make the cone longer because we want the sides of the tart to be fairly shallow. The annoying thing is that we can't put a hole in the cone, so what we'll have to do is this. That's it. And then we will cut the bottom of the cone off. With a cube. Now, how deep do we want our tart? I suppose if we want to make, I think that's probably alright, isn't it? And then we'll create a cylinder for the bottom. Let's have a look. I thought I said cylinder. That's it. Oh. Now, it's not quite the right shape. Because we've got snap on, it's a little bit big. So let's just get the thickness right first. Let's turn the snap down. And it's still going to be too big, but we can work with it. We may have to switch off its snap. And now we'll use the stretch tool to just get this the right thickness. There we go. And then we'll we still can't do that, so we're going to have to do this by hand, which is okay. Just drag that in there. And there. And there. And there. And then I think we will pull this up slightly and pull that up slightly to match. That way we do need to, is that looking okay? Just want to check for gaps. Seems alright to me. Then we've got a lovely tart case. The comb does not give you the hollow option, no, I'm afraid not. So let's move this down. We're making a modest sized tart. Oh. Yeah, it's a bit of a bum, but we'll just have to cope. Now, what did we want to make? A lemon tart or a custard tart? Somebody said custard tart, didn't they? Custard tart. Oh yes, there we go. Oh no, I didn't crimp the edges of the tart. Now I could still do that. By doing this, which is quite a cunning trick. And actually this is similar to how I made the paper case for the cupcake. Is if you switch, because the first edit I put down on the sculpt is central to the sculpt, I can use kaleidoscope mode, or I should be able to. I'll have to turn that up quite high. Let's put it up there and see what happens. And then we'll go here. We'll get a cube. See that? We might have to turn off snap so that we can get it lined up. And then we just do we're going to need that a lot higher. Oh no, we can't do more than 32. We're going to have to do multiple edits. So this is not going to be easy. I should have made the case thicker, but actually I can do that quite easily. Let's just put these edits in first. There. Ta-da! Quite pleased with that. Right, let's just pull this in slightly. Just to give us a little bit more thickness on the inside of the tart. Because we can see gaps and we don't want gaps. There. Is everybody happy with that? It's a quiche. Well, with the controller, this is what I'm doing is I'm holding the shape and then just teasing the rotation with the touchpad with my thumb, if that makes sense. So now we've got a lovely pastry case. We can, let's just style it a little bit. Let's give it a different black. You can see the flecks there, look. And then we need a bit of ruffle to stop it being so even. There we go. Oh, yum yums. We could spray paint it a bit. Now, in order to do the filling, I'm probably going to clone. Oops. I'm going to need to switch on precision move so that I can move it directly upwards. Oops. And then I'm going to go into sculpt mode, delete that, turn off kaleidoscope. I'm going to delete that, so that gives me something approaching what I want, and then I will probably just try going into grid mode so I can get the center of the cake quite easily, and then just shrink it a little bit. Oops, maybe a bit too much. Okay, what I'm going to do then, I don't need that cylinder in there anymore either, so I'm going to move this up. I'm going to, oops, delete that cylinder because we don't need it anymore, because that was the base of the crust. And now we can move this down. Oops. But obviously it's going to be a bit wrong in terms of its position. So let's turn off grid mode, turn on precision, because it's not in the middle anymore for some reason. And then just shrink it until it fits. We don't want any gaps, remember. But that looks approximately right. Oops, we've got a gap. I think it's just a bit small. Let's just make it a smidgen bigger. That's about right. There we go. Well, it's got gaps, but we'll cope. I'm not sure as well whether, let's have a look at the hide tool and just make sure that that is about the right position. Move it up slightly, back to the hide tool, unhide all. And then I'm going to use the stretch tool to just move the top of that down so it's inside the case. There. I'm doing this one by, no, I did do a search for custard tarts, and that was what reminded me to do the ribbed edge. Now what we could do, which would be even more fancy, is go into there and clone that and rotate it. Oops. What's it doing? Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, it's because it's in precision mode. That's annoying. Okay, let's turn that off. Rotate and just trim. Put that there. And then do another one there. Because they often do that with the edge of a flan. Is just have that edge like that. Hello, Keok. I'm making a custard tart. It shouldn't be too long. I need to brown the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this mode and switch on the studio lighting. Oh, isn't that lovely? It's quite satisfying, that flan case. We're going to do this. We're going to switch on spray paint. We're going to choose our slightly less cooked colour, and we're going to just go around, because I'm looking at them now. And it is a little bit paler around the bottom. So I'm just very... Oh, I need to switch on surface snap. I forgot about that. You see it just getting a little bit paler. And then what I'll do is... Also, can you see me positioning my camera before I do each stroke? Because it's a lot easier to move your imp side onto the camera, so it's better to get your camera in the right position first before you attempt your movements. So I'm just gonna... Now I'm going to do some real toastiness. Let me just, look, it's not really soft enough. So I'm going to do a little bit more toastiness around the top of the pastry. Because it would catch more on the edge there. Can you see that? Just browning off slightly. $20 at about 180 degrees centigrade, maybe a little bit warmer. You might want to blind bake it first a little bit just to make sure that the bottom isn't soggy when you put your filling in. What I'm planning to do is make a game where everything's made out of cakes. There you go. I feel like it's a bit too I'm going to just go around and blend this out a little bit, like I would with my makeup. So I feel like it's going from dark to light too quickly, which is making it look unpleasant. So I'm just adding a medium colour in between them to sort of soften the transition a little bit. I think that's enough. There. Lovely. Let's just switch off studio lighting. So I think the pastry's done. It doesn't need, maybe one more thing what we ought to do is just check out if we've got the correct, because we really want a rough finish on the pastry, but maybe a hint of translucence, so we'll get a rough wax and we'll just do that, and that gives it just a bit of translucence like we did with the scone. No, exactly, you do have to blend, darling. Yeah, with the move controllers, it is, no one likes a soggy bottom 14-inch Gaz. Anyway, let's do the custardy bit, shall we? So it's sort of yellow, and what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to, well, first of all, it's not the right colour. It needs to be a sort of eggy yellow. With bits of sort of almost a white creaminess. I'll do that in the middle. And then we're also going to thank you, Gert Tractor, by the way. We're going to do a sculpt, soft blend sculpt, but negative. We're going to turn it down a bit because it doesn't need to be that bad, just to give it a little bit of unevenness. Looks a bit cheesecakey, doesn't it? So I'm just going to do this to make the surface of the cake a bit uneven. Oops, I've got it on surface snap, haven't I? That's not good. And then what I'm going to do, once I've done this, is I'm just going to brown off. Was that too much? Just going to brown off some bits to give it that sort of slight caramelization. So I didn't anticipate making a custard tart today, but I'm quite pleased that I did. Yes, the DualShock's good for precision, and the moves are good for sort of free-handing. Now the great thing about Dreams is I can go in and just reduce some of these edits slightly, just pull them up a little bit to make them a bit less severe. Right, let's do a bit of spray painting. Let me get my reference image. Now, there's often a dusting of cinnamon a dusting. So let's go all the way. Maybe we should do orange. But I feel like that would be too orange. Maybe brown is better. Yeah, I think brown. We can always use multiple colours as well. Let's just start and hide the rest of it. There we go. What I might do is just add a smidgen of... Let's just put surface snap back on. Makes life so much easier. I might just do a little bit of orange, just to give it a bit of warmth. Just a subtle hint. Might even do a little bit of this. Dark yellow, just to make it a bit eggier. And then go back to the brown. Maybe the darker brown. I think it needs to be warmer. Let's have a look. I don't want to be too too varied, because it looks to me like the cinnamon is mostly in the middle. So I'll just tone that down a smidge. And then I'll dust the middle with the cinnamon. Get a little bit of that orangey. And what I'm going to do as well is just vary the looseness slightly. So I'm going to go back into sculpt mode, go to looseness, and then if you watch carefully you'll see the looseness change. You see that? It must be fairly loose already. And then just mess around with the looseness a little bit on the surface, just to break it up. I don't know if I should do any painting. I don't know if it needs it. What do you think, kittens? Yes, I could. Well, on here, on the images I'm looking at, there aren't many. They didn't really, oh, I suppose actually, yes, there is a little bit of bubbling in some of them. Alright, let's do that. Alright, you've persuaded me. You little monkeys. Right, let's do that. Do a smaller brush. almost feels like it should be more orange than that. As if one side of the oven was slightly hotter than the other. Oh no, that's not working. That's better. La la la. Is my stream on the right category now? Has anyone noticed? Soft blend is whacked all the way up, yes. What you could do as well is just do a little hint of if you turn the soft blend up and then you could turn that off. Just add a little bit of bulging to where those brown bits are, like we did on the cake. As if it's bubbling slightly. There. Might do a little bit, but do a very shallow one. Oops. Oh no, it's not really working, is it, that big one? It's not working. And now I can't find it. That's better. There we go. That'll do, pig, that'll do. Right, so do we want that egg to be a bit shinier? Hello, Canada. I might make this egg a little bit shinier just because it'll make it more desirable looking. Oh, maybe not that shiny. The good thing about coat modes, you can just subtly add a touch of a material and blend them together. Do I need to dust it with icing sugar? Oh, I don't know. Let's try it, shall we? Surface snap is on. Let's go for a nice dark brown. Or should we? Maybe not. Maybe we should go for a sort of deep dark orange. And then we'll do what we did before, which is go into this mode. We're just dusting it with a bit of cinnamon. The good thing about paint mode is you can, like we said before, you can regulate the opacity with how hard you press. So I'm just trying to make it subtle, and then we'll put a bit of well, Barney's watching me. What you can do is increase the looseness a bit. That will help. And the ruffle, because it's surface snapped, it will keep it on the surface. We can put a smidgen of impasto on it just to give it a sort of 3D effect, because it is powder dusted on the surface. And then we'll just grab that, that and that, and we'll group them. And then what we could also do potentially is go into the coat mode, get a very rough, I'll just put that on the cinnamon so that the material is slightly different on the eggy bit than it is on the cinnamon, and that way it will catch the light slightly differently, and it'll give you a nice textural effect. There we go, there's a lovely custard tart for you. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to slightly reduce the opacity on that cinnamon just to give it a bit of subtlety, because it's, there we go. So I think that's enough for one day. We've made a cream horn, we've made a raspberry, which on hindsight is a bit unrealistically red, so we're going to just tweak that quickly. We're just going to tint it a little bit. I think we need to desaturate it slightly. That's better, isn't it? Eh? It's a bit better. With a hint of pink. That's better, isn't it? No, yes, no. I think it's better. So we've done that. We've sprinkled it with icing sugar. We've done a chocolatey one. We've done a nutty variant of the chocolatey one. We've even made an egg custard tart. We will make variants on that next week. Now that we have the pastry case, we can quite easily, quite easily just fill it with other things. We could make a key lime pie. We could make a lemon meringue pie. We could do all sorts of wonderful things. We really do need to make a game at some point as well, which I have promised to do. I think we really ought to venture into the world of biscuits soon. Let's just go and have a look at them with our puppet. Oh my goodness, have you ever seen a cream cake so massive? You can see, look, the glaze catching the light slightly. Just lick that chocolate, couldn't you? Let's ride the cone. Yeah, so next time, where's our tart? Let's go and have a look at that. Good thing I put that step in there, except that it's not quite big enough. It's alright. Let's have a look. Hey, did you like my drum kit? Me and my brother Alan made that. And there's our custard tart with the delicious crust. I'm going to sort out this game. I'm going to make a game soon because we've got all the bits we need now. I was thinking the last one that I might do, because we haven't got any square cakes, is that I might do a Battenberg cake next week. So brace yourselves for that one. Batten down the hatches, and we'll do a Battenberg next week, and then we can start building stuff out of them and make some gameplay. So anyway, don't forget to follow me or subscribe, whatever it is you can do. Go and I will post this on YouTube as well, and if you have any tips you can ask me on Twitter. On Twitter I'm MsKittyPowers, MsKittyPowers. You can also find me on Facebook, and you can buy my games at magicnotion.com, or there's a free one called Kitty Powers Speed Date, which is on mobile. And what else? Where else can you follow me? Instagram and MsKittyPowers as well. And you'll probably also see me on the Media Molecule stream at some point. Probably not in drag though, because there's only so many hours in the day. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned something valuable. And if you need any more tips, just ask. And also, if you've got any feedback on the game, bugs or questions, go to feedback.indreams.me and ask there. And you can also find these levels of mine under my PSN name, which is MsKittyPowers as well. Right, kittens. Thank you, Mbergs. I love your drag too. I will see you soon, and lots of love to you all. Au revoir, kittens.